Folks, I hate the fact that we have to have this discussion right now. It's a very unfortunate discussion, but we have to have it. Can the Lions still win the Super Bowl without Aidan Hutchinson? And Zach or Zay, whoever want to go, Mike is y'all.
I can talk real quick. I think it's gonna be very difficult for the Lions to capture that Lombardi Trophy without Aiden Hutchinson. He is a game changer on that defense. He has created a lot of game deciding plays in this season alone. He's a big part of what Detroit is and what Detroit does. A lot of grind, a lot of grit. Um, he was even discussions of closely even being close to the defensive player of the year. That's how great of a year he's having thus far and what he means to that defense. It's very difficult to replicate with multiple guys at the impact that Hutchinson does. And if they trade for Crosby, oh Lord, I think it's gonna be very difficult for the Detroit Lions team to be much of anything on defense. Right, their secondary was already in question. They was already a suspect secondary. So now you lose Hutchinson. Now you lose the crazy amount of pressures that you got up front. What can they do defensively now? Like, who do we rely on to be that guy for the Detroit Lions on defense? And I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if they can really uphold that standard that they have with Hutchinson without him. So I think for me, I would say they cannot win the Super Bowl without him.
Zach.
Yeah, guys, I think what makes this really unfortunate is it was one of those classic games where we come away thinking Detroit, they won the battle because that was an impressive win. Really, from start to finish, they just dominated the Cowboys in that game. And you could really tell the Lions were out to prove a point. After what happened when they went to Dallas last year, they really got screwed over by that damn skipper illegal man downfield on the 2-point conversion, which could have won them that game. That was the Dan Campbell, like, well, he really just went for two there kind of game. And Detroit, credit to them, they made a statement. I thought Jared Goff played really well, but the sentiment coming out of that game, of course, was Hutchinson going down, and it's super unfortunate. I thought this guy was well on his way to winning the Defensive Player of the Year award, and it's also unfortunate for the Lions because we know how good and how dynamic their offense is, right? Jared Goff, the last 3 games, has played spectacular. St. Brown, Jamison Williams, David Montgomery, their offensive line got healthy, and they're back to looking like the best unit in the league. And their defense, which really did struggle at times last year and really cost them in that NFC Championship game against San Francisco, I thought that they were improving and playing well enough to be just about an average unit, which when you have that offense on the other side, you have Ben Johnson calling trick plays, working to perfection. The Lions were looking like the best team in the NFC, at least, going into that game on Sunday. But losing Hutchinson is just such a bummer. And I think Kenny in the chat brings up a good point. Like, if you're the Lions, you've never had a better opportunity to win a championship than right now. I don't know if the Raiders would do it, but if you're Detroit, like, would you give up a first-round pick for Max Crosby? I would highly consider it. If they do that, I'm not going to say they're replacing Hutchinson, but they're replacing him with one of the better pass rushers in the game. Even Hassan Reddick, we'll see what the Jets end up doing with him. We'll see if Detroit would want to pay him, but I think that should be a name that they should look at. We saw Cleveland traded Amari Cooper. Maybe they trade a guy like Zadarius Smith. The good thing is, I think the Lions, this idea just came to my head. If the Lions want to win a Super Bowl this year, they need to find a deal similar to the deal the Rams made with the Broncos in 2021 at the trade deadline when they got Von Miller. We don't realize that Von Miller had a sack in each one of those playoff games for the Rams, and even in the Super Bowl as well. He had that big turnover on Burrow. I think the Lions need to find their version of Von Miller somewhere out there, and if they do that, can they win the Super Bowl? Sure. But right now, I think they're a body short, and you can't blame them after losing a player like Hutchinson.
Yeah, I think the injury changes things, and it's unfortunate. This was my pick to win it. You know, I think the Lions would have won it. I think they was on a mission, and the mission could still be a mission, but they are missing that dude in Aidan Hutchinson, and he led the NFL in sacks, 7.5. He could have had more. I mean, I watched the Cowboys game. There was one sack that he had that got taken away because of a flag in the secondary. So that could have been 8.5, right? But his presence opened up a lot of things for the other defensive linemen. You know, we have to look at his impact, not only when he's making sacks, but when he's allowing other guys to make sacks. And you could combine all those guys. Nobody has more sacks than him on the team combined. Like he had defensive player of the year in the bag already. Okay. And it's unfortunate. You can't replace that production. You can't coach chasing down ball carriers. You can't. Take a guy like Chris Jones for an example. He's another impact player. He impacts the game as much as Hutchinson, if not more at times, because he's playing playoff football a lot, obviously through the years. He impacts the game, but guess what? He don't chase down ball carriers, right? They try to put him at defensive end, and he had to move him right back to defensive tackle because he's not as versatile as a guy like Hutchinson. And you got to replace that? No, you can't replace that. Now, you can trade and make a few trades here, like Zach was saying, for guys like Hassan Reddick, maybe Max Crosby, maybe Zadarius Smith. But even if you do, it would not equal the same versatility and impact of your guy Aidan, who clearly is the heart and soul of this Lions team. Now, if Jared Goff can continue the hot streak that he's on, then maybe we could circle back to this question and be like, all right, maybe, yeah, the chances took a hit, but maybe they still can do it. But, Jared Goff has been playing historic. I don't think it could get better than that. There has to be a little drop off, a little curve here because he's playing that good. He was 18 for 18 2 weeks ago before the bye. And last game, the Lions did what they were supposed to do, what any team should do when you're going up against a depleted Cowboys defense, which the Steelers and the Giants failed to do. Okay, was attack that secondary that's missing. All those guys missing Michael Parsons in the D-line, missing Dexter Lawrence in the D-line, missing all those guys. Attack that secondary, attack that line. And that's what the Lions thought of doing, and they did to the tune of 492 yards of offense, almost 500 yards. So they did what they had to do. They won the game. They look good. They look creative. The offense is not going nowhere. But when you talk about a team sport that the National Football League is, it's not only about offense. You look at the defense. At times, they could get undisciplined. Terrion Arnold can make a play here or there. He has made plays in the fourth quarter, but he also has gotten, toast on a couple plays as well. To miss a guy like Aidan, a major hit.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna be difficult to but there's ways, right? Every year there's always ways for a team to make the Super Bowl, even the unlikeliest teams, right? And what's gonna have to happen? The Lions offense needs to stay electric, right? It has to. Every game from now on needs to be high scoring, needs to be high octane, and that's just gonna be. Maybe this opens up a door for Jahmyr Gibbs to get more snaps and touches because of how electrifying he is on the football field, right? Because maybe the game now is score as many touchdowns as we possibly can, which is more risky plays. That's the Dan Campbell special, risky plays. And maybe that's something that you're going to see a more aggressive Detroit Lions team that we're already seeing because their defense is now considered, or not right, they haven't shown us yet, but considered a liability because they won't probably be able to command the amount of pressures without Aidan Hutchinson. Right?
No, I mean, that's a good point. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
No, that's a good point. I mean, Dan Campbell, you figure, we call him Dan Gamble, is probably going to have to gamble more because he's not going to want to. But that's a gift and a curse, right? Because if you gamble and you go for it on fourth down continuously and you don't make it, then you're going to put your defense in a terrible spot. But then again, you feel comfortable with your offense. And I think he has that faith in Jared Goff. He has shown us that he has faith in Jared Goff to make the right play with his veteranship on a fourth down if they need to go for it to make sure they keep the best part of the team, which is offense, clearly on the field and with the game in their hands.
And one last point I'll make too. Remember that the Lions' schedule this year was really set up nicely for them in the sense that basically every game they play is either in a dome or in nice weather like California or Miami. And we know that historically Jared Goff has struggled in that. So I think we're all on the same page. They just need their offense to really, like, the offense was always going to carry this team, but now they need it to do it even more. And I do think, although this injury is devastating, if anyone could survive it, it's a team like the Lions, where you have Dan Campbell, who's already built this incredible culture. You have one of the best GMs in the league in Brad Holmes. I'm curious what he has up his sleeve, because I have a feeling a move or two could be coming for a pass rusher. They just need to find that Von Miller, just like the Rams did a couple years ago.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.